Hi everyone, welcome back. Those regular visitors will know my name is Will Critchlow, founder and CEO at SearchPilot, and got a treat for you this week. We're joined today by my very good friend Will Reynolds, who is the founder and God knows what his job title is. I'm sure he'll tell us at SEER. He claims that he has no direct reports and he wanders around just inventing the future, basically. The funny thing is, so in my time running Distilled, SEER and Will we were probably top competitors. I think, the number of deals that we would hear, we're only speaking to you and SEER, or we'd lose a deal to them, or they'd lose a deal to us, whatever it might be. And we've known each other for a long time, and even during all of that time, we got on well, we got on great. But actually, recently, we've built a real friendship out of it, and so I'm excited today to not only pick the brains of one of the smartest guys I know around the industry, but also just to let you see some of the crazy way his mind works, and we'll see what we get into. So, Will, thank you for taking the time and joining us today.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it's been quite the ride, right? Like I miss Distilled in a way that it made me want to be better. Like, you guys were constantly putting your stuff out, and you would read it, and you'd be like, strip away the fact that this is one of my competitors. I wish I had that. I wish we did that, right? And when you have great competitors, they make you want to be better. And that's not, how people in our industry are like, oh, she's saying that this person isn't a competitor. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was like a friendly competition that got really serious. But at the end of it all, we were always able to be like, I remember, tell me if I'm making this up because we've been friends for so long. I'm like, I might be telling myself this story. I feel like one day you and I were chatting about competing. And we're like, as long as Razorfish still gets business, we have no need to beat each other up. Like, that sticks in my head for some reason.
Yeah, that was us.
Yeah, right.
That was, we were like, I always used to say, especially the early days, go back,
early days,
20 years, and everything was just growing so fast. All the opportunity was out there, and I always felt like there was definitely enough pie to go around. I mean, it continues to be true that there is, but there's a little bit more zero sum sometimes going on. Anyway, point being, you these days, you're still running the agency world, and so you have a broader view, I think, of the industry than I do these days, running SearchPilot. And so you're working with clients across more sectors, doing a broader range of work, on-site and off-site, organic and paid, and so on and so forth. So that's where I want to start. What are some of the big trends that you're seeing that I might be less aware of when I've got my this laser focus on e-commerce, travel, and very focused on on-site testing?
Dare I say it might actually be a good thing in some ways for you, because the numbers literally just don't match up. I literally on my screen was we were going to do this. I was going to post this. All these people are now like, oh, ChatGPT's traffic was down the last 2 months, and then we aggregate all of our client data, so therefore I can see across clients, and I'm like, highest it's ever been. And we have it broken down by industry, and I was like, ooh. But SaaS has been down for the last 2 months. So you're like, whoever did that report is probably overweighted on SaaS in their data set, whereas we might be overweighted in other areas. So my long-winded point there, Will, is it's like, it really is going to be the breakdown at an industry level that I think the most dangerous thing right now when we have such little data, we're coming into all this being data-driven marketers, performance marketers. So our whole reason for being, our way is very like, I can prove it. When we were pitching against the Billboard people, it was like, Billboard, we have data. And now we're like, we don't have data. And it's really interesting to watch an industry have born out of, I can track all this stuff and specifically tell you my value against my cost, and watch us have to change who we are, given that the data right now is so incomplete and sucks so bad.
Yeah. I think we, in a sense, we had to have the enemy at that stage, but I think we threw too much shade in a way on the traditional stuff, and I've been fascinated seeing what some of the integrated folks are able to do.
Dude, so one of the things I've always loved about the approach that we've taken to search, where we can get clients to buy in, is the human component. So we have UX researchers here, literally like interviewing people as they're using LLMs. And I will tell you, one of the things that blows my mind, 44% of professionals that we interviewed in a panel of like 20 people, so it wasn't that many, but put a brand into their prompt. And I was like, oh no. So like now, this was around consulting. I watched a 30-second clip of a woman typing stuff in, and she included McKinsey and Deloitte in her prompt because she was working on return to office for this big corporate conglomerate. And she's like, oh, so I went in and I was like, what have they said? And I'm like, oh no. How many people are in our industry tracking prompts, right? And they've never seen a human do what I just saw. And then you go, well, how do you end up becoming a brand that's mentioned in someone's prompt? Branding and a bunch of shit you can't track. Right? So I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast on a drive yesterday. And so it was Benedict Evans. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff. He was being interviewed by, I forget, I'll have to dig out the link. But he's an analyst. He started in telecoms, actually back when I was in telecoms many years ago. And he was at A16Z for a while, and now he does his independent thing. And he was talking about some fascinating data when it comes to LLMs around the adoption and usage curve. Because in one metric, ChatGPT is the fastest adopted technology ever, right? Fastest to 100 million users, fastest to all these different stats, faster than. But his point was interesting because he was like, well, you didn't have to buy a $5,000 thing, so that's why it's faster than the PC. Right? You didn't have to buy a $1,000 thing, so that's why it's faster than the iPhone or whatever. There are more people on the internet, so that's why it's faster than Google. And so like some of this is kind of the whole world has changed, and so things can be adopted faster. But the thing that really blew my mind was I don't know where I have to reference where he got this data from, but when they survey people, because you were talking about watching people actually use this stuff, when they survey people about how they're using LLMs right now, you get like 15 to 20% of the workforce using it actively, like really kind of heavily or whatever. So obviously the majority of people are still not, for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's not suitable for their job. Maybe it's not good yet. Maybe that's their problem, their imagination, their whatever else it might be. But what he said that I found really fascinating was, what about those people? There's a good chunk of those people who use it monthly, but not weekly or daily. And you're like, what is that use case? Who are those people who are coming back to it? They are repeat users, they're return users, maybe they're even paying for it, or they're even using it weekly, but they're not using it daily. Compared to the power users who are, dozens of prompts a day.
Dude, so I instantly just go right to like, man, imagine going to Datos and being like, I need a data set of people who hit ChatGPT one time in a month, but only one time. So you would take all their unique user IDs and go, give me all the unique user IDs in their path throughout the month where they only used it once, and just like be like, what else did they do? Like, are they different demographics? Are they more men and women? Are they in certain parts of the country and the world? Like, that would be, I'm gonna have to watch that. Make sure you put that in the show notes or send me a link to it. That sounds really
cool.
Because you know what's so interesting? It's the thing I posted this the other day. I'm like, divergent thinking, right? Every freaking one of us has seen the goddamn graph of like Google adoption and Instagram and mobile, and it just became like a fact. And then every freaking body agreed with it. I wonder, what are the prompts that I need to do in deep research? I mean, now I'm thinking of it. I can probably just think of it myself. But it's like, where is something that everybody agrees to? So you just take this like chart that just gets used everywhere and be like, where could it be wrong? Like, that's like, I don't know. Like, I think there's this like brain exercise work that will be the job to be done. Like, if you're going to say what everybody else says, if I'm sitting in a meeting with a client and I'm like, well, let me show you the adoption curve of ChatGPT against the mobile and against Instagram, and it's the fastest growing this. Even if they hadn't seen that chart before, it's like everybody already knows that. That's not novel. It's the question of who are the people that use it once a month and then didn't get the bug and went, I just use it for this. Like,
Yeah, there's this one thing that is good for.
this one thing. It does this one
yeah.
thing really well.
Yeah. But there's so many things like that. Like, if you go back and find your first ever tweet, right? Like, everybody's first tweet is like, what the hell is this thing? Is it on? Like, what's it for? And so it's not really surprising to me that this box on your computer that looks like the search box, looks like an email box, looks like a Twitter box, needs you to figure out something different, figure out how to use it differently.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things that somebody said to me ages ago is like, it has no user manual, which is one of those things you don't really think of, but you're like, we also haven't been really given a technology in a long time that like, there is no, like the company didn't say like, there is no help file, like in the sense of like, this is how you do it. I mean, they'll kind of talk about it around the periphery, but most software has
Sam Altman actually answered this
documentation.
the other day. He was asked this question, and he was literally like, you could see him like fail to process it, and he was like, the damn thing can answer those questions. Ask it, right? Like, that's what the whole damn thing is, documentation. Like, just ask ChatGPT how to do whatever it is you want to do in ChatGPT, and it's got pretty good at that. That actually is one of its strengths. But yeah, there's kind of some meta thing of like, how do you figure that out? But so while we're on that topic, for you personally, how's it changed your day to day? How are you doing things differently? What are you taking on that you didn't take on before?
Dude, I'm in so much trouble because I'm looking at my other screen over here, and I'm like, oh, let me just hit the number 1 and let Claude keep coding this thing, right? But, man, oh well, might as well say it out loud. It's one of those things where it's made me more impatient. I think Claude Code has made me more impatient in the sense of I will take, nothing makes me happier than hearing somebody explain why something can't be done or why it's difficult, and then copying their transcript and pasting it into Claude Code and having it build it, and then show it to them and be like, try to use this. Like, you spent all the time documenting and talking through why this thing was difficult. Put it in Claude Code and just hit the number 1 as it just like codes away and writes the scripts, I've never been an overly technical SEO. Will I always hated it when like you and Oozby and fucking King and all you guys would be like, we wrote a little Python code, or it would be simple shit. Like your brother would be like, oh, I wrote this XPath. I'm like, slash what? Like, oh, this is in my head. So I definitely like the, I love how it's like leveled some of that playing field. To be just completely honest, it's like there were things you would show on stage that conceptually I understood were super smart to do. And then when I got back to my desk, I'd be like, like it looked so easy up there. And now it's like, oh no, I feel like empowered to do it. So I don't build software in the traditional sense, but I now keep Claude Code open all the time. And I'm now just like, and I use Whisperflow, and I'm just like, I'm trying to do something to analyze all my LinkedIn posts, telling me which ones are ripe for an update, that performed really well, kick off a deep research query. I want you to find things that disagree with me, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all right, I made all the thing, and then boom, here's four results. And you're like, great. And here's 4 sources. I'm like, great. I'm going to go make that content, right? So it's like the things that used to be like download a CSV and how am I going to build a scraper and like how am I going to use Appify? And you're like, no, now I'm just like, go ahead, Claude, do that. And it's like this concept of the person with the window open that's constantly coding and they're just hitting the number 1 and letting it go is a person that's like building solutions to their own problems. So I would say like that's probably one of the biggest ways that it's changed my day to day is just like the things I used to be impatient about and I would sit around wishing I could get done, but I have to work through the corporate infrastructure of like, what else is that person working on? Yeah, that is kind of important. Like, damn. So I'll wait.
Don't want to pull
now
off
it's like,
that.
no, I don't wait anymore. I just build it. And then also, that's enabled me to realize another thing, which is I build and I show things to clients. Whereas I used to try to build things in like Power BI or something and show it to the team. And then one day I realized like, no, like we want to show these new things we're building and these new ideas to clients directly and then get their feedback because they're the ones that pay me in the team. But it was interesting.
How's the team feel about that?
I don't ask.
After the fact.
Well, I think everybody wants to have an excited client. So I think the team loves it. Like, it's almost like sometimes when you do something with like your kids, where it's like you're helping them do something that like they don't want to do, but you know it's good for them. It's like you want a client that's excited. Like, you want a client that's like engaged and is like, yo, that thing that you guys did, and then now let's talk about this stuff too. Versus like every week it's the slog of just doing the same, going through the same, going through the same. So I think the team members love it because the clients love it. Like, we have, I have interviews later today with our AI interviewer. And it interviews the heck out of an SME, and it does a really good job. I used it for 6 months on myself to improve my content. And so now I've battle tested it as an SME, and I'm like, this thing is good, right? Makes a phone call, you pick up your phone, it just starts interviewing you, records the whole thing, takes your old post, remix it, writes a new one, sends it to you in Markdown to see if it's good for you or not, right? We had a 20-year SME at a SaaS client go through it, and his only feedback was, could you send me the questions in advance because they were so good at times I was stumped. 20 years in the same company. Then he gets it back. The team is like, you know how easy it is to get this thing approved? Because it's exactly what the guy said. So all that like content marketer trying to figure out your industry saying some wrong stuff, that's gone because I went right to the source. And he gave us all this other stuff that the client, when they looked at the transcript, was like, he started giving us case studies. We didn't ask for a case study. He just started talking about all this stuff that we had done as a company for our clients before we got here. We didn't even know that this client was a case study. We didn't even know that we solved this problem this way. And now we're like, well, now we got social assets. Now we got this. Now we got that. You give that. I bypassed the entire team, built that with the developer because that was over my pay grade, and started showing it to clients. The first 5 clients I showed it to all found a use case. The first client we worked with it on, the 20-year SME, loved it. He's like, I can go on a walk and talk to this thing and like answer all the questions. We're like, yeah. And now we're producing a higher quality piece of content from a real subject matter expert. And the team is like, how do we work with this thing now? But what they love is that like things are getting approved faster. It's actually performing better. We're getting a lot of information gained that way, which we're finding on Google is performing better. The SMEs are excited to work with us. And our leadership inside the company is able to show their leadership like, yo, look at what Sears doing, which gets their CEOs, CMOs off their ass when they go, what are you doing with AI? They're like, yo, give me your phone number. Give me this old piece of content. Call my boss and show him. And it's like, okay. And then 5 minutes later, the boss gets back a piece of content that rewrote an old thing that they talked about years ago. They're like, oh my God, it's amazing. So that's, I think the team members will be like, oh, I wish I could have been a part of that build because then I would have told you I want this and I want that. But I'm like, we got to sell it to a client. So like, I want to hear what they think about it. And then once you get that opportunity, team members have been pretty excited about it. I mean, they've been super excited about it. If anything, their numbers go up, right? They're getting information gain. They're getting social assets. The client's getting more information out of people. The SME is like, it only took me 10 minutes of talking and you guys have 4 posts. Awesome. And the approval cycles are faster. So ultimately, I think everybody's kind of down with it.
There's two things that loads of stuff. 2 things I want to pick out that specifically. One is there's something I find interesting about how founders are using AI because, and I think there's something specific to the fact that you are used to getting things done by talking and saying, I'd like this thing to happen. And yes, sure, it's frustrating when you have to ask a human, but like fundamentally, that's how the organizations that we've run have grown over the years. Is fundamentally, you've used your voice, you've used your words, and people have done some stuff. And now sometimes it's people, sometimes it's not, but it's the same modality. So first question is like, do you see that same thing that like you're more enthusiastic about this than other folks in the org? And is it scaling? How do you, and Sierra's a much bigger team than I ever built. How are you finding the kind of the chaos factor of folks either doing it or not doing it different ways? Is there any standardization? How do you think about that side of things?
Luckily, it's not my job. Because I have no direct reports, and I trust Crystal and Elisa who are running this. But I'll tell you from my perspective, but I don't think it's the right perspective. I remember one time we had this thing called the grab and go board. I think we've deprecated it, but it was like we had any idea in the company that somebody had that could use AI to solve or automation, got posted to this board. Division leaders would then approve those things being built by somebody, and then anyone in the company could try to build it. And I'm sitting here one day, I think this is the danger of a lot of execs. I'm sitting here one day, and especially that are into the AI shit. I'm like, oh man, in my brain, I'm like, everybody's moving slow. I wish this stuff was moving faster. I wish more people were doing it. And I literally was thinking that, not verbalizing that, but I'm thinking it, right? And then one day, Lauren Kay, who's on our AI council, she sent out an email. Every Friday, we sent out a bunch of like shout outs, and she sent out a list, and it had like 35 names of people that had submitted something that month that they built with AI. And I was like, such a good internal reflection moment of what I think I'm seeing in Slacks and who's really involved in emails and people hitting me up was not the reality. There were a lot more people involved, and we have a database of all those people, what they built, how far it got, blah, 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 blah. But because I don't access that database, I had one impression of what was going on in the company and not realizing that people were legit building new stuff. In 1 month, 35 different people built and executed using AI to solve some problem in the company that was approved by a leader in a division as being valuable for that division at the time. So I've had to learn and be humbled from that like my pace is always so here that I sometimes will forget, or not forget, I just don't go and look for the data that tells me like, how many people are really on this journey? So I think that my gut is off. And it'll always feel, and part of my job is to always feel behind. You do not want a CEO sitting around being like, we're crushing. Because that's how you get your
We're fine.
knocked
Or
off.
worse, we're fine.
We're ahead, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I got to always feel, actually I think I do my job better when I feel that I'm behind than when I feel like I'm ahead. So I think that's the job of a founder, right? It's like, I got to always feel behind. Because what's the upside of not?
Well, I put it in a company presentation the other day of describe yourself in one word: dissatisfied. Like,
that's what you put in.
I was like, in a good way, like I love it when we do cool shit, and then I'm always like, but what's the next thing?
I know. And one of the things I said to the team in our all hands is I said, it is both a time of being exhilarated and exhausted. Both of these things are happening at the same time. The other thing I tell team members is, you have a second job now. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like this idea that I'm going to cut your hours back 10 hours and also give you a raise next year and also be solvent, right? And I'm not going to lay off your friends, but I'm going to give you 10 more hours a month to learn. Like, we went to college. You paid to go to college. If you want to learn all the time, you got to pay for that, right? Like, nobody pays you to go to college technically, unless you're like an athlete. So, I would just be like, I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen to us, right? But this is a time that the people that are willing to put in a little bit of extra time here or there, they are going to learn this stuff faster. And I don't think, even though we're not 100% billable, of course, but like the time that we always had for all the other stuff was fine when we weren't in such a pace of change. But now that we're in such a pace of change, it's kind of like I'm just being really honest with people. I interviewed somebody the other day, and I'm like, you're kind of behind on AI. You're crushing in all these areas, but you're behind on AI. You're probably signing up for a 55-hour week every week for your first 6 months to just catch up to where we're at. I'm like, I just want you to know that so you don't leave your current job, come here and be like, oh, it's like super hard to, it's like, I'm telling you, if you leave, because your company won't even let you use ChatGPT. So don't be mad at me, right? Like your company has set you behind, and you also haven't paid the $20 a month to learn it yourself. Bet you got Netflix. Bet you got DoorDash, right? But, your company hasn't set you up. They haven't surrounded you by other people that are into this, because who would accept that? I wouldn't. I would have quit, right? If I'd have seen this AI future. So, I think it's just a lot of being honest with people, Will. Like, I think I would never want one of my coworkers to look at me and say, you're telling us everything was fine, that thing's got 6 fingers, clients won't let us do this, blah, 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 we're leading, right? It's like, nope, my job is to be like, something's going to knock our fucking block off, and I want to keep my head on a swivel at all times. Because it's their families, you know what I'm saying? I take that really seriously. Like, if I don't make the right investments, I think that's been a surprise for me, because I'm good. I don't need to work anymore, right? And sometimes that like triggers into my brain a bit when I'm like, wow, I'm pulling people along now. I'm like, don't you have kids, yo? Like you want to talk about being present? Like, I get that, because I talk about it all the time, like about being present and whatnot. But like, being present all the time sucks, because it means you don't have a job, yo. Like, you can be present with your kids 60 hours a fucking week, and then not be able to feed them. And they're going to look at you and be like, yo, I want you to go back to work. Can you go get a job again? Like, it's cool all that hangout shit, but I actually want to hang out with my friends. I don't want to hang out with you anyway. You know? And so, yeah, man, I just take it so seriously that I prepare people for employment, whether that's at Sear or somewhere else. And I got to be able to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, did I give people the time, the tools, the resources, et cetera, to try to go after it? And I think that answer is yeah.
I don't think there's enough of that in the wider world today, but yeah, the honesty is refreshing. I think the on the do you get time back from time saved thing, I just always think about the kind of sarcastic comment about when they invented the spreadsheet and suddenly bankers didn't have to do all the calculations by hand, and legendarily bankers now they work 20 hours a week? No,
of course, yeah.
Everybody has those tools, and so the competition stays real.
What do you think about this? I was talking to someone, and I'm like, I think for the next 2 to 3 years, and that could be a short time frame. I'm also having Claude is building me right now something that goes through all the predictions I've ever made on LinkedIn.
Until
to see,
looks back at
predicted, right? The
track
other day
record.
I was looking at some Gary Vaynerchuk thing, and right now he's like all talk. I love the guy, actually. I think he's great. He's talking about like live shopping's going to be huge, and I was like, yeah, but like NFTs, bro. Remember that? Like we were about that too. And I'm like, does he ever go back?
There's still time. There's still time for my NFT portfolio to pay off.
But so instead of pointing the finger at somebody else. A lot of people are, Gary, I'm like, no, let me look at myself. What predictions have I made? So I'm also having this thing code and be like, pull out my predictions so that I can honestly look and be like, what was I right and wrong about over the last year? But the question I have for you, this is new to me, so I would love for you to just to shoot holes through it. Or if it's either way, like I just love the way you think. Lately, I've been like, in about 3 years, all this novel shit will be normal, but it's just potentially. Mm-hmm. And then... everybody went from some number between 0 and 90% to everybody's at 90% knowledge. Mm-hmm. And once everybody's at 90, doesn't that just become the new 0?
I think, yes, fundamentally. I think I have a few different ideas around this. One is, I think we might discover that intelligence is overrated.
Say more.
Right? Well, so, in what we do, right? So, I am very excited for AI to cure cancer, or come up with some kind of like novel drug that can, whatever, like that stuff. If it can do that through some combination of knowledge, pattern matching, intelligence, call it whatever you want, like some breakthrough that is superhuman and can accelerate us past that kind of thing, I'm ready for that. Like that can't happen soon enough. But when you talk about like human achievement, human endeavor, I think it may turn out, we already see the smartest people are not necessarily the most driven, the most successful, the most, have the most agency, the most grit, the most determination, all of those things. And so one of my loosely held beliefs is that all of this stuff is going to be a massive lever for the most driven, determined and agentic people in the world, because the technology doesn't want things, people want things. Mm-hmm. And so I think we'll see the one-man startup, right? The one-woman startup, the one-person billion-dollar company is gonna happen. Will the zero-person company? That makes less sense to me. Like, why would it? How would it? Who would it? Why would it? And so I still think there's going to be the wanting is done by people. And so we want these tools to be tools for a purpose. And so even in the case where it cures cancer, there's going to be a scientist behind that. There's going to be there's going to be somebody who commercializes it. There's going to be somebody who takes it through clinical trials. There's a lot of work to do. And the second lightly held view is that we're going to see stunning pace on the technological breakthroughs and the pace of like the theoretical max of these systems, right? So how smart they are has accelerated from, house cat to toddler to, whatever, and is somewhere around, grad student or whatever right now in certain domains. We get that across more domains. It continues accelerating. Maybe it goes superhuman, whatever. And yet, the real world impact will be slower than we think, because it takes a while to move atoms. It takes a while to change systems, change processes. Think about how long it takes to change the political system or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I don't know. I have like conflicting views on some of those things.
I'm looking it up right now. I just read something about Waymo that was very similar. I'm going to try to see if I can find it real quick.
So while you look for that, I remember there were like somebody was talking. Oh, it was I think it was Andrej Karpathy, right, who was formerly at Uber working on the self-driving stuff, I think, and talked about getting a demo of self-driving tech 10 or 15 years ago that basically worked, right? Like, and yet it's taken this long to get to the point where you can actually hail. I mean, you can't even still hail a Waymo in London. Apparently it's coming, and that's some like regulation nonsense. But and probably also our streets are small and windy, and everything else. But it takes a while, even if you solve the technological problem.
Dude, here it is, right? So as Wharton professor Ethan Mollick pointed out, it seems like there's not enough of a policy response to the existence of self-driving cars, with 2.4 million people injured and 40 killed in U.S. accidents annually. An 85% reduction in serious injuries should be front page news, but it's not. And the idea was like, the technology is here.
Well, I say this to my kids all the time.
Save lives.
I say this to my kids all the time. Like their kids are going to be mind blown that they grew up driving or being driven. Like my kids will learn to drive. Your kids will probably learn to drive.
Definitely.
Their kids, will they learn to drive? And their grandkids will be like, wait, Grandpa, like, are you saying that you used to drive cars yourself? Like, people are really bad at, didn't people die? And you'd be like, yes, all the time. Like, millions of people.
Yes.
And like, explaining that to like 2 or 3 generations from now is going to be wild, I think.
The concept is that, like, we're rational, right? So, if this thing is better, we'll use it. It's like, no, we're not. Just look at self-driving cars and how tied up they are in policy. Like, if you were to say to a politician, if you could minimize tragic deaths in your city or in your state, would you? And
You didn't question,
like,
Will.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course I would. It's like, okay, here's the stats on Waymo. Here's the stats on humans. Why don't you have Waymo in your state? Well, we got to work through the policy and the DOT and the Department of Transportation and this group. And you're like, so what that made me think when I read that the other day is like, it's not just the tools that you give people. It's like there's all kinds of human components that will delay the adoption of things that make sense that we all want. It'll be slow.
Yep.
Even though the intelligence is there, it will be slow. And nothing better
and
than
it's gonna be
Waymo stats. Like, the Waymo
Yeah,
stats
right.
are insane when you look at them versus human drivers, and how we did not have a Sputnik moment, or whatever they called it back in the day, where somebody in government went, we are going to make everything self-driving because
We're spending $1 trillion on this.
Lost a person due to a car accident. How many of us have had injuries? How many people are in wheelchairs in our country? It's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to let people continue to get mowed down because either they're not, paying us enough, or we're allowed to kind of talk about the safety aspects, even though the true safety aspects aren't the one tragic person that got hit by a Waymo. It's the 100 people that got wiped out by a driver.
It makes inhuman mistakes, I think, is the part of the problem, right? Like, it has this kind of alien kind of presence to it, where it doesn't make human mistakes, but it does make some mistakes, and the mistakes it makes are different. And we're not good at processing that.
Like I'm used to waving somebody over the street, like, you go, and they know what that means. It doesn't know what that means. So that if I start walking, it takes me out. You're like, oh, damn. Or like, you'll hear like, people love this shit when, like, the AI ethicists, they love like showing that stat.
What's it going to do in these
like,
different situations?
Around like, this car was trained on white people, so it had a 17% higher likelihood of hitting black people. And you're like, I've almost been hit by black drivers a tons of times, or white drivers, or whatever color they are. Like, the 17% likelihood of a self-driving car should not be held up against 0, because people are running people over all the time anyway. And you can fix the AI and be like, be better, train on more brown people. If you can't go into each person's car and be like, I'm going to take the wheel from you so that you pay more attention. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. We got down a rabbit hole there. It's interesting stuff. So let's bring it back to digital marketing for a second. We'll end on some fun stuff. But before we do that, I'm really interested as well. Was one other area that you do a lot more of. We alluded to at the beginning is that you do a lot more paid media than we ever did. And one of the, I'm slightly putting words in your mouth. I think you've told this story publicly, but the fact that there was a really positive flywheel for SEER, as I understand it, by the fact that you would get, you were a good partner with Google in particular, right? So you roll out new stuff they're doing, beta things, whether it's YouTube TrueView or whatever they call it. Like you take this stuff, you bring it to your clients try out things, they get new stuff, they get ROI, and then Google is referring you business because you're using the new stuff, right? Is that a fair kind of characterization of that? So I'm really fascinated with your ear to the ground right now. Where's this all going, right? Whether it's paid search or the broader paid discovery, like it feels like there's $1 trillion opportunity for somebody to figure out advertising in LLMs, and I don't necessarily want them to as a user, but yeah, like I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
One sec. I hope that this is recording well on my side because I'm a little choppy, but I got your question. Short term, people's KPIs and expectations are still based on a previous time. So what we're finding is short term, people are like, the fastest way out is to pay. So short term, next 2 to 3 years, I expect growth. I'm also seeing some really disconcerting things. Like, for instance, I just saw some data that invalidated this belief, but the source was a little sketchy, that ChatGPT is not good for navigational queries. So if you're looking for a specific blog post on SEER, you're probably better off typing in SEER interactive blog, blah, 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 into Google. Yep. What we're finding is that things like branded search, almost all of our clients are paying more to convert on their brand because that's where the traffic is. So more people are competing for that. So I'm watching some of these like micro trends. Like when I look at CPCs by client for their brand across every client, you're like 80% of them, 90% of them are paying more to convert than they were 3 months ago on their brand. Like that's supposed to be a layup. So that has been another concern. Now you think past 2 to 3 years, I could be wrong on this. ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you use, does so much good work that even if it hallucinated forever on answers, it still is building stuff for me that works and solves problems. So, I would still pay my $20 a month. Is my point. Also, I believe that most of those companies make a lot of their money from API, corporate, etc. If I really wanted to keep my foot on, so Google pays for a lot of their compute and whatnot, and a lot of their investment through their advertising business. Anything I could do to not show ads to make my stuff just clean and pure, I would try to hold on to that for as long as possible because it forces Google to have to stop showing me shitty ads in places where I don't want to see them. The minute ChatGPT starts to show shitty ads, well, now it's all the same game. There's something to be said. And like, I don't purport to like, if I was Sam Altman, but like with my little view of the world, my tiny view of the world, I'd be like, nobody's going to stop paying because I don't have ads, right? Like they're going to continue to pay. Even if I hallucinate, a lot of them are going to continue to pay because I do so many other things great, it's worth it. It's the pressure I could put on Google to continue to strangle their fucking cash cow so that they got to do dumb shit like re-architect their layout so no one can tell what the paid ads are anymore. Like if I'm falling for the section that's paid ads, that's a problem for
the collapsible one. Yeah, the one with the little arrow. Yeah.
So that's another signal that I see that Google's like, fuck, we have to find some way to squeeze more juice out of this by making an even worse user experience because that is how we pay for this new future world. And if I was OpenAI, I'd be like, the longer they just keep screwing over the user experience, and the more mine stays clean, and you don't get bad ads you didn't want, and you don't get a new layout that tricks you into clicking on paid ads 5 times when you only wanted to click on one once, I would keep my foot in their throats with that approach. So I would stay off of ads as long as I could if I was running an LLM. But you know, what do I know? They got other priorities.
It's gonna be fun to see. I mean, I think at least some of them are definitely going that way, and it's really funny because I also feel like there's a story the other way around of Google is so profitable that they can bury their competitors in the compute. And Google is like, yeah, stick the compute everywhere. Like Gemini can do everything now, and every button you click is Gemini. And they talk about the number of tokens processed, which is like some weird like vanity metric, but the fact that they're like vertically integrated, right? They produce the TPUs, the chips that do that stuff. They've got the data, they've got the search index, they've got all these things. They've got so many advantages, and they've got the cash. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of bullish on that right now, but I definitely see what you mean and they've done an exceptional job of, while you say that cash cow's getting squeezed, they're getting more and more juice for the squeeze, it seems like, right? Like the fact they just hit the numbers quarter in, quarter out, year over year for 25 years is some spectacular CFO nonsense. Like the fact that they can just like turn those dials, just hit those numbers every single time. And I am personally excited as well for them to have competition, like for the first time really in too long. And I think we're just starting to see the rewards as users, as consumers. We're starting to see the rewards of the fact that Google's having their feet held to the fire for the first time in a couple decades.
I'm with you on the competition piece. Like, I think people have come along in our industry later, forgot what it was like when there was like 10, 15 different search engines.
And Google was the clean one, right? Like Google was the like just a box with how times change.
Isn't it funny, full circle? So I think that people also forget what it's like to be in the whirlwind of there are no easy answers. It's like we were all making bets back in the day, like which search engines do you think are worth it, which ones aren't, and you got to really think. There was no pre-processed set of rules, like just optimize for Alta Vista, everything will be fine. You're like, but no, like Site just came out with this, or Asterisk came out with this, or
yeah.
Right. So when you see how quickly these people roll out models behind each other, you're like, oh, that's what it feels like when there's competition. Like somebody doesn't just throw their shit out and is like, ours is good enough, fuck off. It's like, no, like they're literally like, oh, like you would watch. I remember like the week of like Google Next or whatever. I think it was ChatGPT launched like 3 new things that week to try to take away from like them. And then afterwards, Claude launched a couple things. And I'm like, that's really, in my opinion, that competition is really good. Because in so many industries, we've seen so much consolidation that we don't get that anymore. So I'm, it's exhausting, but exhilarating at the same time.
It's sums up, I think, the last however many months of this kind of feeling. So let's end on the mindset stuff, because this is something that you and I have talked about a lot, and we're both trying to, I think about how to instill the right kinds of mindsets in our teams, in our families, in our kids, and you and I both, I think, really benefit from, I don't know whether it's innate, whether it's nature, nurture, whether we did it, whether it's luck, but like that thing we've talked about, the optimism, positivity, coupled with the, like, whatever you want to call it, the determination to kind of keep on plowing through when things are chaotic, difficult, you can't see a way through. We've talked a bit about this, but like, what are your tools? How do you do that? How do you teach that? How do you think about it?
Oh man, I don't know. Like I'm a little preachy, but I just try to lead by example. Like during the pandemic when we first went remote, I was like, oh, everybody will be back in office eventually. And as that went on and on, I realized like that I would send a lot more thank you notes to people when we were in person. So then like I would keep count of how many thank you cards I sent to the team. during the pandemic because I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose that. And I had artifacts and real numbers, data to be like, oh, am I still doing that? I keep track of my time spent giving, literally, I have a timer in my timer that keeps track of my time spent when I am doing things for my team members. So then I can look month by month and try to overlay that with how I feel. If I felt like I had a shitty month last month, was I also doing a lot of good? I overlay that against my volunteer hours. A lot of shit is just perspective, Will. To me, the more I try to do things with people who are nothing like me, right, that are coming from a completely different experience than I am, the more I can compartmentalize my problems. And everybody is today. Everybody's like, oh, your lived experience, your problems are valid, or whatever the fucking new words people fucking use. And I'm like, no. That might be good for you, but you're not nearly as happy as I am, it doesn't seem like. I am extremely happy compartmentalizing my problems down into these are not real problems. When you walk by, I was saying this today, I was thinking this today, is when you live in the city, I walk to work, right? And I run 3 to 5 miles a day. I have more contact with random people every day than someone who doesn't live in the city, right? Is my belief. It's what I'm kind of thinking, so work this out with me. It gives me opportunities to be good to strangers easier. So when you see somebody opening, there is a pantry, a food pantry, outdoor food pantry thing, which I can open and take food. It's a fridge, community fridge. There's one over here and one over there around my neighborhood. I go for a run, I walk by it. You see a family opening a freaking refrigerator in public to fucking feed themselves. You instantly go back to your house and go, I'm cleaning out all our shit and I'm just going to order a bunch of new shit on Amazon, right? You get to see that. It's not this thing over here. It's somebody in my fucking community has to go there. And I'm grateful that it's there. But then I think, what's my role in keeping that thing filled? It's right there. It's just easy, right? So I think that as much as people want to be oh, compartmentalize your problems, or, oh, I'm a black CEO and it's hard for me because, it's man, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm literally watching people have to open that stuff up and feed their kids that way. I cannot allow myself to come back and be I bet you my company would be 10% bigger if I wasn't black. Come on, man. It's good enough. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, dude, I think it's those things for me keep me so grounded that my problems aren't that big. That then it helps me to compartmentalize, and it keeps me more in a position of gratitude and gratefulness for what I have, because I get to see so much of things like that how can you not look at that and be I got things pretty good. But if I'm on a cul-de-sac with a bunch of Will Critchlows, right? If I'm sitting around with a bunch of rich dudes, no offense, right? But if it's you and me and we all ran companies and we're all CEOs, it's I don't get to see that, which then means I have to go somewhere to see it versus feeling like these are my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? These are the people that work in these restaurants and in this community. So, yeah, that's how I kind of keep my shit straight.
It's something interesting. I forget. It's one of the philosophies like Stoicism or something that talks about staring at the abyss, right? Looking at the bad things. And it's funny that a lot of the most positive people I know are not afraid of thinking about how close we all are to something going wrong or being in a bad situation or whatever, or how close we could have been. That it's just accident of birth, accident of luck, whatever.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's such a good one. I just listened to a podcast on questions. I haven't sent it to you. I know this is the kind of thing I would typically send it to you. One of the questions this guy said is, what would you think about, what is a belief that you have that you might think about differently if you were born in a different country?
I think about this all the time.
So many of these. And I was just sitting there well, of
no,
course
dude.
you're yeah.
No, yeah, if you were born in a 95% Muslim country, you'd probably be Muslim. If you were born in, speaking a different language, you'd think differently because of the language shapes thought and all this stuff. And yeah, 100%. I think about this a lot. I don't think we get to take credit for the shape of our minds because, we're shaped by all that luck, all that.
Well, dude, so I was thinking of this today. I think the other thing is I really give myself a hard time. Like I really try to self-evaluate if I'm the person I want to be, and I do it a lot. This morning in the shower,
We talk about it.
this morning in the shower, I went through the names of people that I could have stood up for that I didn't. And I was like, how many of those do you really have, dude? Like, where like there was a time, and I went, because you remember the kid that you saw get bullied a bit, that was like kind of your friend, and you would never have bullied them. But you also didn't stand, but like, because I was like a nerd, but I played sports, so I was able to kind of, you know, it like serves us well. Like nerdy sports guy is a good like combo.
It's good. It's good insect. Yeah.
You learn how to like code switch, and like I can be a jock when I need to be a jock, and I can be like a nerd when I want to be a nerd, and all that. And you know, that was just like I don't know if that's a part of like this gratitude journey, but I think I've gone off the deep end a little bit on recognizing how good we are at bullshitting ourselves into thinking that we're better humans than we are. So I'm constantly looking for where am I not the human I wanted to be, and where have I not in the past. And like today I was like, oh my God, like there's 3 instances I could think of. And I was like, 2 were in school, and then 1 was 10 years ago where somebody said something that was like pretty fucking racist. And I didn't say like, fuck you, that's racist. I was just like, get me out of here, and I left. And I was like, I should have told them to fuck off, because that's what I really felt. But like, I just didn't feel like having the conversation with them, so I took the easy way out. You know what I'm saying? It's like that kind of shit also helps me, like, because I think our default state, you know this, will be like, I'm a great dad. It's like, where did I tell my kids I have to go to work when I know I could retire? Telling them fucking lies. Like, I just literally like think of that shit all the time too, dude. So I don't know if that helps me.
It makes you special. It does. Like we talked a lot about this.
Otherwise, you know what it is? Yeah. I think the worst thing in the world, Will, is when you're lying to yourself and everybody fucking knows it and they just nod their fucking head. And I think 95% of the world are just going to nod their head when you're lying to yourself. And then the minute you're done, they're like that fucking moron lying to himself about, oh, you know, I did this for my dad or my mom or my wife or my kids or whatever. And you're like, dude, like I saw you at the fucking club the other day. Like, you almost took your ring off because you were so excited to see fucking other chicks, and then you're gonna kind of parade around your wife as being this great person that you're gonna write on Facebook. You're like, it's bullshit. But go ahead and tell yourself that, right? So yeah, man, I constantly am in that mode of trying to figure out my own shit, dude. It's not good to be up here some days.
It looks good for all of the the optimism, the resilience, the everything else. It shakes out. Anyway, listen. I've taken too much of your time. I need to be respectful, and we need to finish and whatever else. But where should people follow you? Where are you posting most actively these days?
Most of it's on LinkedIn, but the algorithm like messes with you a bit if you post too much. So I'm mostly just letting it rip on Blue Sky these days, where I'm like, you know, random thoughts I'm now putting on Blue Sky because I don't really care what the algorithm thinks, and I'm not. Whatever, I'm just like, that's the place to learn a little bit about like the different parts of me, whereas like LinkedIn's probably...
What's going on in the brain?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably a little bit more, I'd say it's more like 80% professional, 20% like
curated.
Fuck Donald Trump shit. I mean, it's like fuck Donald Trump shit in like a nice way. Like, I'm supporting these immigrants, but really what I'm saying is fuck Donald Trump. So yeah, you get about an 80-20 on that.
I'm sure there's an audience for that. So on that note, let's bring it to a close. Thank you, Will, for everything, the insights, the humor and the depth.
Hey, Will, I got a question for you though. Because you and I talk probably multiple times a week, asynchronously, I wonder, and if the answer is not at all, it's fine. I wonder if this interview is different when you have a depth of knowing the person outside of other interviews. I wonder if this one's different for some reason. Like when you look
this
at
is very different. I mean, I think the audience is going to notice that. It'd be very interesting to see the feedback. Hit us both up on social media and tell us whether you liked it or not. We've gone down some little avenues here. For those who don't know, so what Will's referring to is we swap voice notes, and some of you might be surprised to learn that I swap voice notes with Will, because I have been a vocal anti-voice noter for many years, and there's still very, very few people I'll send a voice note to, and yeah, you're one of them, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, when you know your subject at a more intimate level, does it change the output of the work that you're doing here? Right, because like, dude, we like know each other. Like, I've shared shit with you where I'm like, dude, I'm trying to figure out, is this like a good thing for my kids or a bad thing? And when you know that, how does that get brought in to how you interview versus someone else you may not know? So just something to think about. Like if we do an analysis on the, I'll Claude code up all of your podcast transcripts.
Yeah, it's gonna be like you didn't ask any of those guys about their family history. So, yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for having me, man. And thanks for staying up late. I know it's late there, so I appreciate you.
No, it's good. And thanks for your time, dude.
It's good to see your face.
Chat. Always. Yeah, doing it synchronously. There you go.
I know. See you on the signals.
Later.
Later, brother.